And we're live. Welcome to dCommerce Meetup 7. I'm Rhianne Lewis, Developer Relations Advocate at Boson Protocol, and I'm your host for tonight. Can't believe it's Meetup 7 tonight. The months are just absolutely flying by. We've got some great things going on tonight. With me, I have Justin Bannon, who is the co-founder of Boson Protocol. But before we get stuck into the first session, which is a fireside chat with Justin, I'm just going to announce a few things that I think people should really know about. First off, if you're watching us on Crowdcast only, remember that you also have the option to join us in Decentraland, where you can check out our branded spaces with MetaFactory and AUROBOROS. You can purchase physical goods in the metaverse as NFTs. So check the link in the Crowdcast chat if you're not already watching us in Decentraland. Come and join us there. It'll be a lot more fun. If you enter Decentraland, you can also collect our exclusive The Age of Metaverse Commerce PO-app. Don't miss out on the PO-app, and sign into the guest book for a chance to win 500 Boson. So, as I said, we've got some great conversations going on tonight. First of all, we've got Justin, who I'm going to ask about some really big news we've just announced. Following Justin, we've got our head of strategy, Jonas Seifert, who is going to take us through our new Uniswap liquidity mining program. Then we've got a fantastic panel explaining exactly how we built our amazing space portal in Decentraland and what that means going forward. And then finally, we're going to do a giveaway with our head of community, Vera Beliavsky, who's going to announce our winners from the Cube game, which we've just finished season 1. So, Justin, absolutely delighted to have you here, obviously. We've asked you here tonight to talk about some big news that we've announced in the last few days. NiftyKey, which is connected by Boson Protocol, has been selected for the Mastercard Start Path program. This is, of course, the first of many applications that are going to be built within our ecosystem. But what makes this so significant, especially for you?
Hi, Rhianne. Hi, everyone. Yeah, great to be here and talking about this sort of this huge announcement, regarding Mastercard, NiftyKey, and what I would say is it's the first of a whole succession of these like really major announcements that we've been working on. For me, this one is huge. Personally, and it's also huge for Boson. And I know, Rhianne, because you've been with us since the very beginning. So for those people that are not aware, Rhianne was one of the mentors on Outlier Ventures Basecamp, the very first Basecamp that Outlier did, which was in the deepest, darkest crypto winter. And was one of the mentors that just got it. And so, and very early on, we were talking about one of the applications for what is now Boson being this redemption app. And so yeah, I mean, it's a massive announcement that we have one of our applications being built on Boson Protocol that's been accepted into the Start Path, the Mastercard sort of crypto Start Path accelerator. And yeah, let me say a few words about kind of the history of this with me personally and Boson. So before I did all this with Boson, I used to work for a company or a group of companies called Priority Pass, which was an organization, a business selling like physical rewards vouchers. And so I did this whole master's in digital and thought, what happens if we represent these sort of paper and plastic vouchers that represented real world products and services? But what happens if we turn that paper into like digital vouchers? Well, that turned out to be a really good idea. It sort of transformed this whole Priority Pass group into this sort of $1 billion like digital voucher platform, and Mastercard was the biggest customer. So I worked with them for over 10 years, growing that business from a physical to digital. We signed a sort of a 5-year $1 billion deal with Mastercard for all of their premium card holders worldwide, and built out this whole global Mastercard sort of rewards app, which is in many ways very similar to the NiftyKey app, albeit that the previous app was built on Web 2 technology, and NiftyKey is built on Web 3. And so, yeah, I mean, the similarities between these two products is enormous, and it actually kind of spawned the whole idea of Boson Protocol.
Yeah, of course. And so thinking in terms of Priority Pass, where you were essentially digitizing physical things, and now, as you say, that was a primarily Web 2 platform, and now we're moving into this state where we've gone from the idea of physical to digital, and now we're moving from Web 2 to Web 3, from digital to NFTs. So how does this whole story of vouchers and Web 3 feed into the story of Boson Protocol?
So I mean, the basic concept of Boson Protocol was, okay, I was involved in a business that represented real world products and services as paper and plastic vouchers, and sort of transform that business to representing real world products and services as digital vouchers. But digital vouchers require a platform, an organization, an entity to manage them. And that brings all of the, well-documented downsides of extraction and, all sorts of, so I thought, how do we then move from digital vouchers to blockchain vouchers? And that's when we really came up against this huge problem, which was, how to sort of automate this, and how to sort of replace an organization, if you like, with just a piece of software. And this whole notion of this kind of physical asset oracle problem, which is, if you tokenize your car and I buy that token, that's great, but how do I ensure that I actually get the car? And that's, we came across this problem, and it's actually one of the fundamental problems in blockchain. So the evolution of Boson was solving that fundamental problem in order, and now we kind of, NiftyKey is just, once you've solved that fundamental problem, it's actually a general purpose technology with a whole load of wide range of use cases. But because we've solved that problem now, and particularly when we launch V2 of the protocol in Q2 next year, we're now able to build that original concept of, one of the applications is like a rewards program that sits on, that sits on the blockchain, and it's the kind of crypto native and doesn't require an intermediary in order to facilitate these exchanges.
I mean, it's brilliant news. Obviously, at Boson, we're all amazingly excited about this. Thinking now to, rather than just us being excited about it, what does it mean for individuals and customers? You gave me the example of the car, but let's think specifically about the NiftyKey use case, for example, where somebody is a customer, a credit card customer, and they're participating in one of these programs. Could you just walk us through the benefits that it might offer?
Sure. So there are lots of similarities to sort of existing credit card program rewards programs, and then it just opens up this whole new sort of vista, a world of possibilities. So firstly, the benefits, the rewards can be digital, physical, or on chain. So it can enable all the same sort of things that you would find with existing rewards programs. So access to lounges, access to real world experiences. You know, an example we use is, you know, imagine that, you know, it could enable you access to like a baseball game where you get a ticket to go to the game, where you may get like a a voucher to redeem in the merchandise shop for a shirt, another, you know, within this bundle, another voucher for a meal. It may give you access to a digital download for the game, plus an NFT collectible, and all of those things. So there's these three types of, you know, physical, digital, and on-chain, that this loyalty program, which will be delivered by an access NFT. So each of the card holders that are eligible will be given an NFT that unlocks these sort of benefits, in the same way that maybe historically a plastic card would have unlocked. And so, you know, that's all very similar. But the real power of this is that everything is composable and programmable. So, you know, we can, in the same way that we're doing in Portal, we can kind of gamify all of these experiences. So we can enable you to go and play a game in the metaverse, you know, or you can go and buy something that enables you to level up, that it gives your NFT more superpowers, maybe allows you into this, you know, kind of lounge in the metaverse and this space in the real world. And this whole kind of composable, programmable, and gamified sort of loyalty benefits is this new palette. So you know, it's kind of loyalty crossed with gamification and, you know, blending the metaverse and the universe. So, you know, as you know, Rian, we've got all these amazing creatives both within you know, Boson and some of the application teams, but also we've got this incredible partner network. And really, you know, part of what we're doing at Boson is building this basic infrastructure that gives all these creatives the ability to paint these amazing kind of, you know, experiences for customers. So we're really excited to, you know, be exploring that with as innovative a partner as Mastercard.
Yeah, it really is great news, both for consumers and for the wider ecosystem. I'd love to talk more about this whole thing of NFTs with superpowers, why they're more than JPEGs and so on. We'll have to have that conversation another time, because well, I'm afraid we're on to our last question now. I think I can squeeze one more question in. So obviously great for the customer. Now let's talk about what it means, not just for NiftyKey, but for the wider Boson ecosystem, because as we said, this is the first of many applications that are going to be built on top of Boson. How do you see this playing out, and what's great about it, first for NiftyKey and then for the wider ecosystem?
Well, I mean, I think that the primary benefits of working with Mastercard are working with an innovation partner, a customer that is really focused on customer experience, and by working together with a customer that can also bring scale, what you have is, you know, you can build product market fit together, which is, you know, is the way to build to build products, right, rather than building them in isolation. And I've, yeah, as I said, I've got a lot of experience of partnering with Mastercard to build these cutting edge products and technologies. Of course, also for the ecosystem, for NiftyKey, for Boson, and for the whole metaverse and ecosystem as a whole, onboarding mainstream customers into Web3 and the metaverse is part of, you know, one of the primary objectives of all of us. And the enormous sort of scale that Mastercard has is, you know, can benefit this whole sort of nascent metaverse. So we're looking to build products that, you know, break new sort of frontiers, and that create these amazing experiences and bring mass adoption to the metaverse, whilst kind of leveling up this whole notion of loyalty and sort of gamification.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I feel like could talk for ages and ages about this, but I'm going to let you go now, Justin. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. And for people who want to know more about the NiftyKey announcement, obviously check out our socials. We've got more about it on that, and I'm sure there'll be lots more to come.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rhian.
Thanks so much. Next up, we've got Jonas, who is going to talk about liquidity mining, our new program with Uniswap. So he should be here any minute to talk about liquidity mining. And there he is. Okay, all yours.
Hey, Rhian, thanks. All right, I will just share my screen. Cool. Can you see my screen? I just assumed that's a yes, probably Rhian dropped out. So yeah, really nice to be here. I'm Jonas. I'm heading up strategy at Boson, and I'm going to tell you a bit more about the liquidity mining program that we launched yesterday. Yeah, to kick off, an overview of the program and kind of some stats around it. So we launched a liquidity mining program on Uniswap v3 on Ethereum mainnet for the Boson ETH pool with 0.3% fee. And this program will run for 3 months with a token allocation of 250,000 Boson. Why are we running such a liquidity mining program? It's largely under this model of improving access to Boson tokens. And I think Uniswap, as kind of this decentralized exchange and kind of the leader of decentralized exchanges, is kind of a great platform to do this on. So we see in this space that there are kind of different exchanges for different types of users. So Boson is, for instance, on crypto.com, which has a really user-friendly UI and UX. So it's a good starting point for people that are just looking to get into crypto and Web3. We're also on KuCoin, which is more about kind of advanced trading features and caters a bit more to this active trading crowd. And then there's Uniswap, which is really for this Web3 native audience. And I think there are kind of multiple advantages of being on a decentralized exchange. And so one of them is that Uniswap is kind of the ultimate access point for people to access Boson. Because it's permissionless, so there is no sign up, there is no KYC, and it's kind of universally accessible, and there is no custody, right? So kind of all the great advantages we know of decentralized exchanges. You don't give up custody over your assets. It's kind of highly trustable, as this code has been, as kind of smart contracts have been battle tested for a long time. And another great advantage of having Boson on Uniswap is a better user experience for the applications that use Boson. So here you see an article by Cliff Hall, and Cliff essentially tried out Boson Portal, tried out the Cube and the quests, and actually then bought an item in Portal. And what he realized when he wanted to buy this item was that the item was listed in Boson tokens, so he needed them to pay for the item. And what Cliff did as kind of a native Web3 user is he just went to Uniswap and in 2 clicks exchanged his ETH for Boson. So this is the great advantage of Uniswap, which is if you're already kind of a Web3 user, you have your MetaMask, it's only like the next token is only 2 clicks away. And so seeing more and more adoption of Boson also kind of as utility in the future, it will be great to have Boson with high liquidity on decentralized exchanges. So why are we incentivizing the liquidity of Boson in Uniswap v3? So Uniswap, as decentralized exchanges are permissionless. So anybody can create a pool in Uniswap, anybody can provide liquidity in Uniswap, and anybody can trade in Uniswap. But there is still this chicken and egg problem of exchanges, which is without liquidity, you won't attract volume, and the other way around. So what we're trying to do with this liquidity mining program is break this chicken and egg problem. So what the outcome of this, what we expect to happen is with this 3-month program, which incentivizes more liquidity, we expect more volume to come to Uniswap. And with that, it will attract sticky liquidity as liquidity providers will earn more fees. So at the end of this program, we expect kind of a lot of liquidity to stay as the volume picked up, and more volume to come as the prices are better on Uniswap. Why did we choose Uniswap v3 on Ethereum mainnet? So first off, tackling the Uniswap part, I know there are like a lot of decentralized exchanges out there with their kind of pros and cons. Really, the biggest indicator for going for Uniswap is how dominant it is. So you can see here a pie chart from a nice Dune analytics board that compares all the different decentralized exchanges. And what you see there is that Uniswap on mainnet makes up around like 75% of all volume traded on DEXs. Uniswap v3, so this combines Uniswap v2 and Uniswap v3. Uniswap v3 alone makes up around 60%. So being on Uniswap is really where the party is happening. That's kind of a big reason to go for Uniswap. And then kind of the other question around Ethereum mainnet is that also on Ethereum mainnet is where most of the volume sits today. So Ethereum mainnet is quite dominant still in terms of kind of DEX trading volume compared to layer 2s or other layer 1s. I know a lot of people are unhappy about the high gas fees, but I think as we see layer 2s gain more and more traction, the liquidity will also move to these places over time. Another reason to go for Ethereum mainnet is this is where the Boson ecosystem is at the moment. So we have kind of the Boson token on Ethereum mainnet, the protocol, and what we build around Portal. So it only seems natural to also support kind of the decentralized exchange of Boson to other tokens on Ethereum mainnet. So this is what the interface looks like for providing liquidity. This went live yesterday. So kind of a brief overview of how this works is that when you provide liquidity on Uniswap v3, you get this liquidity provision NFT, and then essentially you can come to this interface, which is under guardians.bosonprotocol.io, and you can stake your NFT on this incentive program. We're using the Uniswap v3 staker contracts for this, which live on mainnet. So we didn't have to even deploy our own contracts or write our own contracts, which has the great advantage of being pretty secure. So these contracts have been used by other projects in the past and are audited as well as written by Uniswap Labs. And kind of there's an in-depth guide on how to participate on Medium, so a step-by-step guide on how this works. Be aware that this involves a lot of transactions, so the gas fees might be quite high. We have a current minimum APR there, so a big disclaimer around this is that this is kind of a snapshot APR. The APR depends on how many people participate in the program, and you will also find the calculation for this APR in the article, so you can recalculate it yourself and understand kind of what we're stating there. Lastly, last point to make is liquidity provision is not for everyone. So as the whole space of automated market makers drastically changed with moving to this new design of Uniswap v3 around concentrated liquidity, providing liquidity became much more complex and essentially much more intricate, because you can concentrate your liquidity. And with that, it also became much more risky and harder for casual users to understand. So I brought this quote from a recent study where they looked, I think, around like 20,000 Uniswap v3 positions. And what they found is that half of liquidity providers had negative returns. And this is just a good example to show that we are not encouraging kind of casual users to become a liquidity provider, and encourage everybody, if you're interested, to properly read up on how liquidity provision works in Uniswap v3, and be aware that there are high risks. So this is not financial advice. What our goal really is with this program is to kind of bootstrap the usage of decentralized exchanges. And so you don't need to become a liquidity provider to help with this. Yeah, just kind of the disclaimer at the end for everybody to be aware. And this is pretty much it from my side. A small teaser on the Boson Guardians NFT. So we're actively working on this. These are actually not the latest visuals. The latest visuals even look a bit nicer. And this is coming soon for everybody that asks for the Guardian NFT.
That's really cool. Thank you so much, Jonas. And really nice that you dropped a teaser for the Guardian NFTs in at the end, because they're going to be awesome. As he said, check out our Medium for more details about the liquidity mining program. Really interesting area to explore. So now you're going to stick around, and we've also got two special guests. A reminder to people that if you're not already watching this in Decentraland, head there now. Check out your chance to get a POAP and sign the guest book. And right on time, we have our special guest, two special guests. We have, as well as Jonas, we have Courtin and Toxam. They're from Polygonal Mind, and Polygonal Mind are an amazing company. They're metaverse architects and metaverse builders, and they are actually the people who built Portal. So given that everyone's super interested in Portal, we thought it would be nice to have a panel where we actually chat just about Portal. So I'm not going to say welcome to Portal if you guys are there, because you all know the space better than anyone. Jonas, for anyone visiting Portal for the first time, can you explain what it is and how it relates to Boson Protocol?
Sure. So Portal is really this fully customizable brand platform where brands can experiment with metaverse experiences as a whole, but specifically metaverse commerce. And so the space in itself, where a lot of people are at right now, is made up of an event space where this event is streamed. It's made up of a gamified experience, which is currently Cube. And then we have these branded spaces, which are currently MetaFactory and AUROBOROS. And with these branded spaces, that's where really Boson Protocol comes in, enabling the sale of physical items as NFTs in the metaverse, and specifically in Decentraland in this case. Yeah, I think that's pretty much an overview.
Cool. And what are the, obviously we've had various things going on in Portal up until now. What's upcoming for Portal? And you know, you've said a little bit about what we are using it for. So what sort of things might we use it for in future?
Yeah, so I think generally what we've seen is that the metaverse, this concept of the metaverse, is really here to stay. So the events of the past few months have really solidified this, from Facebook's announcement to yesterday Nike acquiring Artifact. So we see kind of a lot of traction there. And I think as everybody realizes this vision of the metaverse and how powerful it is, people also realize how big of essentially an application metaverse commerce is. So what we see there is moving like over a span of a few decades from going into physical stores, transitioning to that to like online e-commerce, and now transitioning to like online 2D e-commerce to metaverse commerce, which is fully immersive. And we see a lot of demand from brands on this. And so what we're going to do in Portal for the short term is more physical NFT drops, onboarding more brands, and building more great experiences. And then I think in the long term, what our goal is for the next year is enable kind of any builder in a DCL or something like Sandbox to be able to pick up Boson and integrate it into their own space. So essentially Boson becoming this common standard for doing metaverse commerce.
Amazing. Now I'm going to turn to you, Courtney. You know, the space looks awesome. Anyone who's there can see that. Can you tell us a little bit about the build process and which bits are your personal favorites? And were there any particular things that gave you a few sleepless nights?
Hey there, everyone. So thanks a lot for the question. In fact, one thing that I love from the metaverse, it's about building things that are not possible in real life. That's why we are metaverse builders in the end. What I did really enjoy is about doing a lot of floating crazy stuff like the AUROBOROS space and the MetaFactory jumping quest that interacted with the world itself, because the users had to restart from the low level, you know, like being super high and being able to see everything around you, what's very interesting. And in fact, one thing that I love during development, it's one thing that people hate. It's texture mapping. For people who are not familiar with 3D, it's placing the textures inside 3D models, which is something that is quite unusual and then slow, but I'm pretty good with it. I love challenges in the end.
Yeah, you've got a pretty cool job. And you, Tox, thanks so much for joining us. We're really happy to see you. So obviously we've seen these different kind of debates playing out on social media over the past few weeks and months. Traditional gaming's been quite slow to adopt Web3 approaches, and obviously there's a lot of gamer pushback on the idea of NFTs in some different sectors. So could you tell me how significant this month's Decentraland announcement about joining the Blender Dev Fund was? I've got two questions in one, really, because of course Polygonal Mind work with other metaverses than Decentraland. So I wanted to just ask you as well about common standards and how important you feel common standards are. So two questions. First of all, traditional gaming and NFTs and the whole Blender Decentraland thing, and a question about common standards.
All right, good. Just 1 second. All right, okay, good. So three things, I guess, about the game NFTs. I think it's going to be happening, or things that the things that are happening is very similar to what happens to mobile gaming in the very beginning. Mobile gaming was not something that game developers liked at all. They were not very interested into it, and there was actually a lot of pushback. There was a lot of people who thought that game developers in mobile games were not real developers, and only PC or console games were the real ones, right? So, and then Robio came in with Angry Birds and then shows everybody that you can make mobile games, thoughtful game for mobile games, right? So from my point of view, I think that is the same happening here in NFTs. Most of the people in the space of the NFTs are not game developers, and they're running platforms and they're running games and projects that probably they are outside from the game industry environment in a sense. And I think there's a lot of people in the game industry that they doesn't feel comfortable yet with this industry because they still not haven't seen anyone or anybody do something, you know, that has brought everybody's people's minds, right, and made NFTs mainstream. And I think we're still too early for big brands and big companies to invest and risk, because at the end of the day, this is a risk for a big brand, right? And they need to be cautious with kind of companies or what kind of technology they use, because it affects their resources, it affects their investors, it affects their customers, it affects everybody. So needs to be, I guess we are now in an experimental phase. when we are seeing a lot of young projects and a lot of people doing all the experiments, and then later on big brands and big companies will be joining with all the experience that has been happening already in the industry. About Decentraland joining the Blender Foundation, magnificent. I think the DAO vote was something brought by Gene, one of the most metaverses OGs in the space. I think that was probably the most significant vote of the DAO of this year, aside the wearables, but this has been one of the most iconic. I'm glad that everybody was kind of okay with it. I think it plays the NFT space and specifically Decentraland in a good mood for the future. And also for common standards, actually, right? We're all using open source technology. Decentraland itself, the SDK is open source, so you can actually fork Decentraland if you are interested into it or you're willing to. And we try to use as much open standards or open source standards to develop stuff. We use GLB, GLTFs. We also use Mixamo or other kind of tools that can be providing you. And the beauty of it is that since they are open standards, eventually you can add up to that file format, and nobody has to. You don't have to ask permission for it, right? You need something for a file format, you add to it, and then somebody start to use it as well and can become an open standard. So that's the beauty of using open standards for everything.
Very cool, very cool. So much exciting stuff going on at the moment in this space. I'm just going to turn back to you, Jonas, to talk about common standards for a minute, as I know that that's something that you feel really strongly about. So we need this kind of cross-world compatibility, and Boson provides this common standard for decentralized commerce. Can you tell me why this common standard for decentralized commerce is so important?
Yeah, so I think what we're doing as a protocol is really building kind of what we call this exchange of on-chain value for off-chain goods and services. And kind of why it is a protocol is because you get such efficiency gains if everybody coordinates essentially around this one piece of tech. And we've seen this with like different areas of crypto. So for instance, going back to the liquidity mining, Uniswap essentially became the main decentralized exchange that coordinates all the exchange of tokens on Ethereum. And I think similar to that, Boson becoming like this common standard for doing commerce really gives these efficiencies, capital efficiencies, as well as kind of market efficiencies to it. And then also what we're doing is using common standards ourselves, so that anybody can pick up the protocol, and with these common standards that we use to represent things such as NFT vouchers or Think tokens, allow people essentially to build on top of this protocol. And what this enables is kind of to become like this commonly used protocol at the one side, and on the other side, people can extend this protocol, build new applications on it. So we essentially empower developers to take this and then build on top what they want. And I think the third point is it becoming like a trustable piece of infrastructure. So what we see today, why this coordination is valuable as well, is that these protocols become like a shelling point for kind of trusted exchange. So people also just levitate to Uniswap because they know it as a brand. When they want to exchange something, they know Uniswap is trustworthy. Right. And I think that's the same thing we're building here with Boson, as we are kind of providing the trust between off-chain goods and services and on-chain interactions. It's really important to have like essentially this one protocol that is trustworthy. So people are kind of certain that if they do a transaction using Boson, they will receive the physical item or their money back if they're a buyer.
Exactly, and 10 out of 10 for just casually dropping the expression shelling point into a conversation. And the common standards, of course, is the reason that we're inviting other brands to build on top of Boson, because, you know, we're an ecosystem, not just a platform. So common standards are really important for us. And if we had more time, I'd ask you about the grants program and so on. We'll have to save that detailed conversation for another time. But just a reminder to people that next year we're going to be really building out the ecosystem. But we're talking about Portal, and I'm going to swing back to you, Courtney, now. Decentraland, of course, we love Decentraland, but you build in many different virtual worlds. How do you see the multi-metaverse future, and what needs to happen in technical terms to have more interoperability between worlds in a way that will make developers' lives easier?
So thanks a lot for the question. In fact, Toxam advanced quite my answer, because here the core feature about growing a community and growing this thing called multi-metaverse, it's about growing an open source community. It's about sharing knowledge. It's about making sure that everyone who joins, everyone who jumps aboard, can keep up with everything up to date. They don't have to start from scratch, because we are here to help. We are here to be a community in the end. So everything will be summed up as community grows community. There is not a big entity. The metaverse is about everyone helping each other and doing crazy stuff, just maybe for fun, maybe for profit, just to grow everyone, to make people's life better. Everyone has a purpose, and there are lots of projects in the metaverse. What it needs to happen, basically, it's about pushing all the time that everyone keeps on being open. Stuff like Blender, it's awesome. Stuff like Decentraland, it's awesome. It's a good point that you can fork Decentraland. You can learn everything about Decentraland. Nothing is secret, because in the end, if you let people know what you have done, then they can grow up something better.
Yeah, couldn't endorse that more. Great answer. Toxam, Polygonal Mind, obviously, as we've said, work with many different virtual worlds. How do you see this type of interoperability happening, and what do you think are the immediate trends that we're going to be looking at for 2022?
All right, interesting question. I think all the different platforms are going to be evolving around their users. The users that are going to be joining Decentraland, or the users that are going to be joining Sandbox, Somnium-Space, CryptoVoxels, are going to be the ones shaping the platform itself, in the meaning of the culture, the memes they share together, the events, and all the things that they will experience together. So what we will see is that they will be having different use cases. The more time we give this to evolve, the more use cases we will be finding for specific platforms. For example, I know that CryptoVoxels is being used pretty much as an art gallery, and there is a lot of artists who jump there, right? And you can do the same in Decentraland, but there's not finding them that many artists as in CryptoVoxels. So, for example, CryptoVoxels could evolve into blogging a scene of artists creating their own galleries, like a blog every day, and they updated it, and they have stuff that they can show over there. And Decentraland becomes more like a business-oriented place where you can see brands and people and companies, and also big artists doing cool stuff in Decentraland, right? But Decentraland also allows you to do stuff. I could create a bank in Decentraland, right? That's something that I cannot do on CryptoVoxels, or something that I cannot do on Sandbox. Sandbox is going to be more game-oriented, or at least it seems like it. So probably what will happen is some people will spend time on Twitter, and then if they want to play, they will join on Sandbox, and then they gain a wearable on Sandbox that they are very proud of, and then they go to Decentraland and they want to wear that same hat that they wear on Sandbox on Decentraland and attend an event, a party event at Boson, right? And then they go into CryptoVoxels to check out the latest artist updates to see if I can buy some art. That's something that could happen, right? You all in the same day, different locations, different metaverses for different stuff. You don't need to be owning everything in every place. You only need to be owning stuff in the places that you really care the most, but it's important that you can bring those things into anywhere that you want.
Yeah, it's amazing really to think about this world that is right here, coming soon, but not here yet. I guess pretty much like the internet was in the early days. I was going to ask everyone else about what they thought about the future, but I've seen that we've got quite a few questions coming in, so we've got a couple of minutes for questions. And I was hoping to get some general ones about Decentraland and so on, but instead we've got some Boson specific ones. So I'll ask this one to you, Jonas. May we expect Boson using layer 2, for example, Arbitrum or Optimism in the future?
Yes. So essentially, we're going to move to a layer 2 solution with the next version of the protocol. It's just that with layer 2s, and especially something like commercial exchange, which is often like lower value compared to kind of finance applications, we are really in need of cheaper transactions. Which layer 2 we're going for there is something that's not decided yet. And I think in general, Boson is kind of chain agnostic. So we have certain principles of decentralization that we find important. But other than that, we're not into kind of picking a winner, especially in this layer 2 space. Compatibility is still important. But the main point being is, yeah, we're gonna deploy Boson on a layer 2 solution in the future.
Very cool. And another Boson question. We've seen a lot of interest recently from big sneaker and sportswear companies in the metaverse. What does that mean for Boson?
I think what this means for Boson is that we're able to help these brands explore the metaverse and the possibilities. So what talked about earlier is this kind of risk for big brands to go into the metaverse, as it's hard to know who to trust. What is a serious project and who's not. And what we're able to do there is through Portal and what we've built there, take brands by the hand and enable them kind of a managed experience where we can essentially provide the knowledge and insights of how to do something in the metaverse, provide Boson as the technology they can use to sell their items, and kind of get them smoothed in to the metaverse. I think we built a great position there with Portal to be able to manage all of this demand that we're now getting from brands.
Great answers. Could carry on asking you guys metaverse questions for ages, but we are now out of time. So Toksam Kortin from Polygonal Mind, thank you once again for being here. And, you know, Portal really does look awesome. And Jonas, thank you very much. I think next we'll have the moments that probably a lot of people have been waiting for, which is the announcement of our giveaways. So I'm going to introduce Vera.
Yep. Sorry, guys, I'm a bit like too early. However, it's very hard to speak after such a great session. Thank you very much, Jonas, and thank you guys from Polygonal Mind. I was super delighted to hear this session, and I hope we really will achieve this great future. So, as everyone knows, this November, we asked you to join us in Portal and to play the cube. We have two great numbers for you. So, more than 14,000 players took part in Season 1, with 6,238 POAPs collected in general. What can I say? If you missed Season 1, stay tuned in our social media channels for what comes next. All 4 events period of Cube Session Season 1 are now completed, and I'm delighted to announce the 21 winners and the winners of extra giveaway in Twitter, and also several of you guys who will want from us an extra XP that will boost their chance of winning in the grand final season in January 2022. I will now share my screen, and please let me know if you see it. Yep, hope everything works and you see it, as I don't see the chat. And here are our contest winners. I will be super quick, guys. Here are the Twitter giveaway winners, and we congratulate Mr. Dipudo with the main win and 10,000 Boson, and the following Twitter users each won 1,000 Boson tokens. Then we are coming to our cube winners, and here we go. Mr. Yellow 23B5, yours is the great prize, and here are all the other our winners. And now I will have a very long list of our 100 cube players who will get from us some extra XP winners. Right. So you will get extra XP from us to increase your chance in the grand final season 2022, sorry. If you don't see yourself here, please don't give up. You will have a chance to win the great final. All the XP you just collected will be counted in the grand final season 2022. Ryan, I believe that's it from my side. I was very quick. All the prizes will be automatically distributed to your wallets during 1 month. And if you don't see it yourself now, please check once again if you were lucky on the Medium article, which will go live straight after this meetup. Basically, I believe that's it. Thank you very much, guys. I hope to hear Ryan for a closing session. Yeah.
Yes, I'm
perfect.
Back.
I was super quick. Sorry, Ryan. I don't have a lot of news, but all of them are great.
That's amazing, and congratulations to all the winners, and so lovely to have you with us tonight, Vera. We have to get you along to these meetups more often. So yeah, well done everyone who won. Look out for the grand finale announcements, and I'll just say once again, check out our Medium to see the full list of winners. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget, if you weren't in Portal tonight in Decentraland, go there, see our amazing branded spaces, and come back for next month's dCommerce meetup, when we'll have more great guests, more great announcements, and more great giveaways. Thank you so much.